Well, hello there, my friend. This is Jay Conner, the Private Money Authority, and welcome to another show and episode of Real Estate Investing with Jay Conner. Here on the show, we talk about all things real estate, from how to find deals, how to get them funded, how to sell them fast, how to automate your business, and we talk about all kinds of real estate deals: single-family houses, commercial deals, self-storage, land, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. However, most of the time we do talk about single-family houses and how to do the business. So first of all, if you're brand new to the show, a very special welcome. Why in the world am I called the Private Money Authority? Well, back in 2009, after I had been investing in single-family houses here in Eastern North Carolina for 6 years, I got cut off from the banks with no notice. And I knew I had to find a better and quicker way to get my deals done. So when I say private money, I'm not talking hard money. I'm talking about not relying on banks, mortgage companies, traditional lenders for any of our funding for our deals. So not hard money. Hard money is typically a brokerage. Private money is doing business with individuals just like you or me, borrowing money from them from their investment capital or their retirement accounts. And if you haven't heard about self-directed IRAs, you definitely want to learn about that, because my wife, Carol Joy, and I, we right now have 40-some private lenders loaning money to us on our deals, and over half of them are using their retirement accounts to fund our deals. So whether you are a seasoned real estate investor or a brand new real estate investor and you have never done a deal before, in either case, I know you can use more funding for your deals. So I have got a free, that's right, FREE, free offer for you to come join me for the first 30 days to check out what we call the Private Money Authority, or rather the Private Money Academy membership. And at the Private Money Academy membership, here I'm live at least twice a month doing training on how to get funding for your deals and finding deals and etc. So here's how you can take advantage of signing up for free for the first 30 days just to check it out and see how you like it. Come on over to www.jayconner.com/trial, TRIAL. Again, that's Jay Conner, JayConner.com/trial, TRIAL. And hey, if you are tuning in with us from iTunes or any of the other platforms, we really appreciate for you to subscribe and rate and review and like and share. We're on YouTube, Facebook, and all the podcasts. Well, as like many other shows since we launched the show, I've got some very special guests today that are going to talk about one of their recent deals without using any of their own money to fund the deal. And we're talking profits of over $100,000 just on this one deal. We're going to talk here in a second. We're going to just like carve this deal up. We're going to talk about how they found the deal. So what kind of marketing did they use? We're going to talk about the purchase price. It does have rehab, what the profit is looking like, what kind of marketing that they use to find this deal, and everything about it, so that you can learn how to duplicate deals just like this in your own home market, wherever you invest. So with that, let's bring on to the show right here, right now, Crystal and Dan Mewhorter. Hey, Crystal. Hey, Dan. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Jay.
Hey, Jay.
Hello, hello. Tell everybody where you all are located.
We're in Virginia, near Virginia Beach, Chesapeake, Norfolk, out that way.
Right. And your total area that you invest in is about what size population?
Oh gosh, we've adjusted over time, so I guess it's it's up around 860,000. Yeah.
Good size, good size. So let's let everybody know, Crystal and Dan, that we met each other a few years ago, and in fact met each other at a real estate investing conference. And at that conference, you enrolled into my Where to Get the Money Now system. And from there, y'all came to one of my live events. Y'all became one of my platinum coaching clients, mastermind students. And since that time, in a very short period of time, you all have amassed like about 100 houses in your inventory, right?
That's correct.
That's awesome. So you keep some and you flip some, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome.
So our inventory ranges anywhere from 80 to 90% that we sell on rent to own. Am I echoing on your end?
And
Okay, perfect. And then the other portion is fix and flip. So that can vary anytime. So anywhere from 10 to 20% go through fix and flip process where we move them out of the inventory quickly.
Right. So just in this past 12-month period or so, how many deals are you doing? How many houses?
Oh my God.
In the last 12 months, we did
50, 62, 63, something like that. 62 or 63 deals.
About 63.
Yeah.
So over 60 deals, over 60 houses in the past year. So to do that number of houses, you must have like a really large payroll and team and a lot of people working with you. What's your payroll look like, or how many people you got on your payroll?
Well, technically on our payroll, if you will, we really only have one person that works directly with us. Of course, the two of us, we're full-time. We both left our careers. So we're full-time in the business. We don't work the business full-time by any means, but so we have one person that does the majority of things. And then we have a variety of other services that we employ. But we're pretty lean. We don't have a whole lot going on out there.
So you can make over $1 million a year with a very small staff.
Absolutely. As long as you know what to do and you have the right tools, right? Isn't that what you taught us?
Something like that. Something like that. So just to let everybody know here on the show, Crystal and Dan both work with me in the business on the coaching end and also on service deliverables. Crystal helps me with coaching calls, accountability calls. And so we work together on coaching real estate investing students who are either brand new or they want to take their business to the next level. And so the reason, as I said, we've got Crystal and Dan on is I want them to talk about one of their recent deals that they got in the works. So I'll turn it over to you all. Tell us about this deal.
Sure. So the deal came to us through our Facebook marketing. So an actual paid ad. Yeah, this one was one of the paid ads that called into us and reached out and said that they needed help. We were originally contacted by, it was a couple. They divorced many years ago. So the male, he had reached out to us and said, they really had to make a decision. There's been ongoing issues with the house, but at this point, it's progressed, and that they were looking for an option to be able to allow her to move on. So a little bit more of the backstory is just that through the divorce process, they have children together. And as we all know, there can be challenges on how all the financials are handled. So they were really struggling as far as having enough finances to be able to maintain the house, take care of all the expenses, obviously raise their kids, and of course have two separate households. So subsequently, I spoke with the woman who lives in the house, and we had a really lovely conversation. And she just expressed that at this point, she's just done. She explained to me that there was a lot that needed to be done. She wasn't even sure what all, but she knew that it needed a roof, which was what we understood before we had actually physically seen the house. She didn't explain a lot of what was going on with the roof, but once we saw it, that's a pretty major problem. So at this point, her objective was to be able to move on. So both of them to eliminate the issue of having to continue to pay for repairs on this house, the inability to maintain it. Obviously, while we all may know that houses can be an appreciating asset, they are not appreciating assets when they're falling to pieces. So this is one of those, unfortunately. So 3.2, a little over 1,400 square foot. She had just expressed to me that if she could move into an apartment, and then she subsequently would like to relocate beyond this time once her kids are a little bit older. So for her to just get that piece done would really be super helpful. So we did indeed set up a time to go see the house, understanding that $60,000 were owed on the house. And at that point, of course, we had no idea of repairs, but we knew these people were really, really flexible because they need help. So we went to the house. Unfortunately, even from the exterior, it was apparent as to the disrepair. So there were problems with the fascia, the soffit. It was clear that there were issues with the windows and the roof, and the landscaping had gotten, you can't call it landscaping. The yard had gotten out of hand, including like a tree growing through the meter pipes. So, somebody that really is in need and just doesn't have that second, both income and set of hands, obviously doesn't have anybody around who's handy. So just from the exterior, we knew it was in tremendous disrepair. Had
it been vacant for a while?
It's not. They're living in it. That's the really hard part.
Oh, are both of them living in it?
No, that's the challenge. She resides there. She does not have any secondary income, but that she has residually from having been part of the marriage. And then he resides and has since remarried. So he has another household. Okay.
Well, let's back up before we get into the actual, all the figures. I mean, I've already told everybody up front that profits are going to be over $100,000, but we'll carve it up here in a second. So let's go back to step by step, your all's criteria for deciding and how you decide and get the information on whether you should even go look at a house. Obviously on this one, you decided to go look at the house. So let's go back. Step one, you got Facebook ads targeted there in your market. And so you have a potential seller that responds to that ad. How do they respond to that ad? What's the mechanism that they communicate to you from Facebook?
So we have a CRM in place that when they respond to the ad, it directly feeds into this software that sends us an email message and a text message saying that they're interested.
All right, so they fill out information, contact information, you're texted, you're emailed, and your software automatically responds to them in about a minute or two, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
So there's nothing falling through there in the cracks that, they don't feel like they're being ignored. And so then initially, who actually talks to these people or attempts to get them on the phone?
Our acquisitionist actually texts them immediately and calls them, sets up a time to talk to them on the phone.
All right. So now what's the responsibility of your acquisitionist, and how far through the negotiation process does your acquisitionist take the negotiation?
She's a bit newer to our team than perhaps, like, say, some others. So she is gathering information. She asks a few key questions just to find out, obviously, motivation, what's the situation with the house, etc. She has the responsibility of getting some of the early figures, i.e., how much do they own the house? What's their monthly payments look like? What are they willing to take? She takes down all that information. And then, of course, she looks up the property to help identify for us before, of course, our CMA, because we will require a CMA in order to make a final decision. But she early on takes a look at the value of the property with some software that we have her use so that she can identify what potential may be there.
Right. And just to make sure everybody knows what we're talking about, tell everybody, what is a CMA?
Comparative market analysis. Lets us know what the value of the house is. And in our case, of course, it's actually an ARV, or an after repaired value, when the house is not in perfect condition. So we're actually asking the realtor for a value once it's actually rehabbed and in excellent condition.
Right. So your acquisitionist gets the initial information on the property. They get for you, and I guess they're putting it into your software that you and Dan and the whole team use to communicate with each other as far as what's going on with a potential deal, right?
Correct.
Right. So at that point, the acquisitionist has gotten all the initial information, and what we mean by that is the mortgage information, how much is owed, what's the monthly payment, and so you see that information. So once you get that information, how do you know at what time? Yeah, I need to get my realtor to tell me what the after repaired value is, assuming it's all fixed up. When do you do that?
We do it once we've had a conversation with the seller and we determine what's their motivation and does it look like we have opportunity for there to be a deal. So we don't ask our realtor to be running after repaired values on every property that comes across our desk, because until we've had that next conversation, I really just don't know what these people would be willing to consider.
Right. So do you go look at the property before you get the CMA from your realtor or after?
We look at it after. We look at the property after we get the CMA. We want to confirm that we're really all on the same page. I don't want to run around and look at properties all day. I mean, as much as I sort of enjoy that piece, I don't have the time for that. So I don't look at properties until we're all pretty on the same page. I know what they're willing to do. I know that we can make this turn into a deal and we can move forward from there. We may not be at absolute final negotiation, which of course we're not, because we haven't even gone out and seen it, but I know we're pretty darn close. We're all in the same ballpark. So
you all are seeing what looks like a potential spread. And when we say spread, okay, depending on what repairs they want to be, looks like what this house could be worth, assuming excellent condition. We know what the payoff is. Did they initially tell you that they would sell for payoff?
So dealing with two different people that evidently have not been in much communication with one another, they both express that they don't converse, if you will. So I had to work through one party, determine what they thought. They felt like they could take payoff, but they weren't sure. And it'd be nice if they could get a little bit, but they weren't even sure about that because they aren't really been aware of really the condition of the property, haven't been there in years. Second person expressed, absolutely, I would take it. I don't know what he'd be willing to take, but I have to get out of here. I need to get my kids out of here. I don't want to keep living like this. So I had a pretty firm idea that we could get payoff or close to payoff.
Right. So, in a lot of these situations, not a lot, in all situations, when there is a current mortgage, of course, I say not current. I mean, it could be behind. Were the payments behind or were the payments current?
Payments are current.
Okay, payments are current.
Yeah.
So everybody don't miss this point. Whenever there's a mortgage, that would want to automatically trigger you to talk about and negotiate what we call buying subject to the existing note or mortgage. And if you don't know what that is, then we got a bunch of shows already previously that talks about buying subject to the existing note. But bottom line is the seller agrees to leave the mortgage in their name and we agree to make their payments until we find another buyer to cash everybody else out. So how did the conversation go on buying subject to the existing note? Because my best guess is that's where you started.
That's exactly where I started. In fact, I just negotiated one of those today. This is not that one. So we had that conversation. The challenge is the mortgage is in both of their names while it remains in place and the property remains within one of their hands, the party that's supposed to occupy. They are equally responsible for repairs. So the burden, even just to know that it's out there, the burden of that was overwhelming to both. So to cash it out and to know that they were done was far more important to them than the consideration of whether or not, they could leave it in their name for a period.
So if you can't buy it or they won't sell to you on subject to the existing note, which is is one of the categories of what we call buying on terms, then where do you get the funding for it?
Private money. We have a private
money.
lender that's itching to get their money working. So we're happy to oblige.
That's right. So is this a new private lender?
No, it's an existing lender who came back up.
Okay, very good. Meaning they had already invested money or loaned money to your all's entity and you sold the property, cashed them out, and now they want to go do it again.
Yep, They're ready to keep going.
All right.
So this is good timing.
All right. So you go out to the house and let's hear about repairs.
Yeah. So this is the tough part. And I'll be honest, I'm not typically a softie, but I do care very much about people. Don't get me wrong, but I try to keep business. Numbers always speak to me. The numbers still work, so that's all good. But it was tough for me. The condition of the property is pretty bleak. So all flooring, kitchen needs to be gutted, bathrooms need to be gutted, all windows.
How many square feet is it?
1,400. It's not a big house.
So average size, first time home buyer house.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, like really fits our market in terms of being able to resell it perfectly. And is in a great neighborhood for that. Sits in a cul-de-sac. I mean, it's just really it's an ideal setting, but everything's gonna need to be done. Like I said, all exterior, there's rot around the base of the windows on the front, definitely needs a roof. And when we got inside and we were walking through, there's multiple roof leaks with mold. So they have buckets sitting around their house. That was tough for me. They have kids that live there, and one of the rooms has multiple beds, and there's a bucket on the bed. That breaks my heart. So Dan doesn't even know I did this yet, but I called them to see if I could send somebody over to see if we could at least tarp it for now. I mean, I don't even care. I just don't want them to live like that. It just breaks my heart. So, and several other issues, like they've had lighting that hasn't been on for years. So they have lamps in spaces where there normally be lights. Dan actually fixed that, I think. Probably not long-term, but flipped a breaker. So they have some lights. It probably will go back out. I'm sure there's a bigger issue, but so, I mean, it's pretty extensive. We can salvage the tubs. But for the most part, everything else has to go. They haven't used almost any of the closets because for years, as per her, because they are moldy and they don't want to open them. So
Dan, you have a thought?
No, she's spot on with that so far.
All right.
It's tough. Yeah.
So they're willing to sell to you for payoff, which is about $60,000. So you're estimating the total repairs at how much?
$60,000.
All right. So they'll sell for payoff, which is $60,000. Repairs are $60,000. So all in until Murphy shows up, as in the unexpected, you're going to be somewhere around $120,000 invested in this house. And so your realtor comes back and says, okay, all fixed up. This house and property should be worth how much?
Well, my realtor says it's worth more than I think it's worth, but we're going with 250.
Well, hey, I think 250 works. If you've got a after repaired value that you can list it for or sell it for 250, and you got you're going to buy it for 60 at payoff, 60 on the rehab. That's about $130,000 profit. Don't have to take that one to the committee, right?
No. And I will say that we've already decided that because of course we don't know on Murphy, and this one's got a lot going on. So until we have, inspection, everything else, I don't know everything, but I can't imagine we're going to get in too horribly much deeper. There's not a whole lot else to replace. But we'd like to give the sellers something. We'll give them some money on this one where I can't. They gotta come out with something. I know that they didn't intend for this to go that way. So,
well, there's a lesson learned in that. I was talking to somebody not long ago, and they said, well, Jay, business is business, and I immediately replied, no, business is not business. Business is people, and people determine what the numbers are, what the business is. And so right there's a perfect example of how both of you, Dan and Crystal, you got a servant's heart. You're looking at doing what's right, what's fair to all concerned, even an occasion right here where they're not asking for any more money, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Well,
we've always said, and you and I have talked about this before, it's all about relationship, every aspect of everything you do. And how can you consciously walk in or out of a relationship and not really look at what's going on with all parties? So it's important to do the best you can, to do the right thing.
Well, and the secret to what you're doing there is giving. I mean, how much are you thinking about giving them if, some unexpected, doesn't show up?
I mean, if something unexpected doesn't show up, I would consider 30 or more grand to split between the two of them. If something unexpected shows up, the least I would consider is 20. So they each walk away with 10, even if, our end goes kablooey. Yeah. We're still going to come out ahead.
Well, my dad told me many years ago, he says, Jay, you already know the right thing to do without somebody telling you what the right thing is to do. So let's talk about exit strategy for a moment before we wrap up this episode. So you all, like me, you all sell homes different ways. Some of them you put in the multiple listing service with your realtor, you sell them, you cash out, you go again. Some of them you sell on rent to own, where you help people actually go ahead and move into the home, help them get a mortgage, down the road a few months or a year or so, and then they cash out. What's your intention on disposition of this property?
Plan is MLS. We'll go ahead and list it with our realtor, let her sell it, and go from there. So obviously we'll pay some out, as everybody knows, when we do that, as opposed to when we sell it rent to own. That looks different. We actually have 3 that are in process that should be cash out any day now, if COVID wasn't so slow, causing everything to be so slow, I should say.
That's awesome. So as we wrap up, let's brainstorm on some lessons learned from this case study, if you will. It's a real life case study. So let's just go around the room. Lessons learned from this deal, and I'll go first, and then Crystal, and then Dan, and I'll see if I got anything else left. So my first lesson learned from this case study is, if you didn't have private money already lined up, ready to do deals, you'd be missing out on this deal, right?
Absolutely.
All right, Crystal, second lesson learned.
Whew. That's a tough one. I mean, there's always, gosh knows, I'm sure I could think of 25, but you put me on the spot. It's all about relationship. It's all about people dealing with people. So to be honest, I'm not sure that if we weren't coming at this from the heart space, that the same response would have been true, i.e., I'm genuinely concerned about these people and their situation. We want to fix it. That's what Dan and I do. I truly believe why people choose to work with us over someone else oftentimes. So for me, it's really just having a very keen awareness of how valuable relationship is, and coming from that heart space.
And I promise you, people can tell where we're coming from. They can tell.
Great. Yeah.
Dan, lesson learned from this one.
I'd have to say having the correct type of advertising and getting yourself in the right spot at the right time. I mean, there's a million real estate investors out there in the world, but they don't all advertise the same way. They don't come across as big of a servant's heart as we do in our communications with them. But knowing how to advertise correctly is definitely the winner on this one. Yeah.
And as you mentioned, this one came in from a Facebook ad where you were offering to buy someone's house without them having to list it with a realtor. Or do you remember the specific unique selling proposition or the unique call to action or offer in the Facebook ad? Because I know all, you all and I, we have different types of Facebook ads.
Right. So this one was just a full price. We buy full price, and we sell, we can buy quickly with no closing costs or fees. So save your equity if you have any, or keep you from having to pay out of pocket when you do sell. That was kind of it in a nutshell. So, but had a nice picture of us on the front.
I love it. I love it. Well, you actually said the one I was, so I'm not going to try to top you.
Well, awesome. I think, can I add one more? And that is, I think an important lesson that we don't all think of is, and in reality, yes, we'll make some adjustments to this, but it's still really important. And that is, don't be afraid to ask if they'll take what they owe, even if that doesn't look like a reasonable answer, because sometimes circumstances and speed are far more important to a person than just whatever value it is that you've identified in your mind. So just don't be afraid to ask those questions.
Yeah. Well, and the opposite side of that is true as well, which does not pertain in this particular scenario. But what I have discovered over many, many years is the first figure someone tells you, even when they say I'm going to take 1 penny less than X number. What I've discovered is sellers don't know what they will take until they are given an offer.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking of one in particular. They started out at 80,000 here in my market. My acquisitionist could only get them down to 60, not a penny less. We met them in person. We offered 20, which was 60,000 than the original, 40,000 less than, won't take 1 penny less than 60. So again, make the offer, make the offer, make the offer. Crystal and Dan, thank you so much for joining me here again on another episode of Investing with Jay Conner.
Thanks for having us. It was fun.
All right. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Crystal. And we'll be talking soon. So listen, folks, thank you for joining in here at Real Estate Investing with Jay Conner. I'm Jay Conner, the Private Money Authority, wishing you all the best. Here's to taking your real estate investing business to the next level. And remember, get right on over right now to www.jayconner.com/trial, TRIAL. And I'll see you inside the Private Money Academy. We'll see you there.